Hi, my name is Kelly Cheatham. I'm a digital learning specialist for Fort Worth ISD. In this video, I'm going to show you some of the newest Google Meet updates. There are three big ones that just came out recently. So we are going to cover breakout rooms, the Q&A feature, and the polling feature. So let's go ahead and get started. I have become the host of a Meet, and in my Meet, I have one participant or one student. So I'm going to come up into my top right-hand corner to find our new features, and I'm going to look for that little shape icon. When I hover over that, that's our Activities button. I'm going to click on our Activities button, and I'll find all three features inside. We're going to start with Breakout Rooms. When you click on Breakout Rooms, the first thing you're prompted to do is choose the number of rooms you'd like. In this case, I'm going to keep it at 2, but I could change that number. The next option I have is to shuffle my students into the different breakout rooms. So when I click shuffle, it will automatically put those students in those breakout rooms, and that's just a way to do it randomly. I can also clear that information, and that will put all of the students back in the main room, and now I can manually move students into breakout rooms. So this is a great way to do it purposefully. So in this case, I'm going to move this one student into breakout 1, and for now I'm going to leave breakout 2 with no students. When I am ready to start my breakout rooms, I'll just click the Create button. And at the top of the screen, you'll see a little pop-up that says Breakout Rooms are in session. On my student end, I am being prompted to join Breakout 1. So on my student end, I'll just click the Join button. Notice that it removes me from the main Meet and is now putting me in Breakout 1. At the top of the student screen, they get a little message again, a little pop-up that says which breakout room they're in, and then they also have a link to return to the main room. On my teacher side, I can see how many students are in each breakout room. When they have officially joined, you'll notice that the text of their name will be black. If they are waiting to join, you'll see that little spinning circle, and then as their breakout room is loading, their name will be grayed out. Now that my students are in their breakout rooms, I can jump from room to room. So I can click the Join button to join this particular room. Again, it's going to remove me from the main room, and it will put me in that particular breakout room. So notice now that I am in breakout 1, so I can monitor student activity in breakout 1. I can also jump to my next breakout room by clicking the Join button on the next room. If I click the Leave button, it will put me back in the main room. So I can kind of jump back and forth. Notice that I can also edit my breakout rooms once they've started. When I click on the Edit button, it will bring us back to that main creation button that we saw earlier. So I can increase or decrease the number of rooms. I can reshuffle my students. I can clear them, meaning they'll all get moved back to the main room. But keep in mind that that change is not going to happen until I click Save. And then I can reassign my students 2 rooms from this little side menu here. I'm going to click the Back button. The other option that I can choose is to end my breakout rooms. When I end my breakout rooms, it will prompt all of my students to return to the main room. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And again, we're being prompted to end the breakout rooms. And now on my student end, they're receiving a message that looks identical to mine, where it asks them to return to the main room. Notice that they can't do anything else within the Meet except for return to main room. So this is a great way to kind of wrap things up for them. Okay, and now all of my students are rejoining the main room and our breakout rooms have officially ended. Let's look at our second option, or our second new update, polls. So polls allow you to ask multiple choice questions throughout your Meet to gauge student understanding, student engagement, just as a community builder. So there's lots of different ways to use them. So I'm going to go ahead and select the polls button, and notice that I am prompted to start a poll. I'll type in my question. Again, this could take many forms. In this case, I'm going to ask just a community builder kind of question, or an icebreaker. So I'm going to ask, okay, and I'm going to say wings, and I'm going to say 4 legs. All right. Now that I've asked my question, I can continue adding answer choices if I wanted to. At the bottom, I can trash the question altogether. I can launch it immediately, or I can save it for later. So the beauty of this is as you join the meet, you might be waiting for your students to join. That's a great time for you to go ahead and prepare your poll questions. Keep in mind that your poll questions will not save, so as soon as you end the meet, those poll questions will disappear. So you want to kind of get in there early and prepare them early. So I'm going to save it, and notice that it just kind of adds it to my little library of polls, and I can go ahead and prepare my next question. Maybe we're teaching living and non-living. Oh, goodness. Okay. And again, I can save it or I can launch it immediately. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and launch this one immediately. So now on my end, I can get a live view of the results. So as students are voting or answering, I'll see those votes appear here. My students right now will not see those results themselves because I have not toggled on this option here where it says show everyone the results. So as they answer, they're not seeing how their classmates are voting. On the student end, now that I've launched this poll, they'll also go up into the top of their screen where they have the little shapes icon. And then they'll have the option to come down to polls. Notice that little green dot, that indicates that there's something new for them to see. This is where they'll find their poll and answer it. And then as soon as they hit vote on my end now, I am able to track that progress right here. So I'll see those votes come in live. At any point in time, I can toggle on this option and my students will see the exact same view that I see with the number of votes per answer. So I can turn it on and off as I need throughout our meet. I'm just going to go ahead quickly and launch our next one. Now keep in mind that because I saved our first question, before I even launch it, I can toggle this on. So if I want that to be on from the get-go, I can go ahead and turn it on even before I launch it. Again, my student is seeing this in her little poll menu, and she can come in and respond. And immediately I see those results. When I want my students to stop answering, I can go ahead and end the poll. That will just freeze it so they can no longer respond. So I'm going to do that to both. And so now we can have a discussion about those results without the results themselves changing. We'll talk a little bit more about how to analyze that data later. For now, we're going to move on to our last feature, the Q&A feature. And this is a great place for you to kind of keep track of student questions in your meet. In the past, you might have had students either turn on their microphone and ask them out loud or even put them in the chat. The challenge to those two options is A, that when they turn on their microphone, it's a little disruptive. And B, when they put them in the chat, it's hard to keep track of them. So you might miss a question if it's in the chat. The Q&A feature is its own separate thing where students can come in and ask questions so that they're not lost in the chat itself. So I've gone ahead and I have allowed my Q&A session. And so now on my student end, again, in those three dots, or excuse me, in those three shapes, they'll find that Q&A feature. They can come in here and they can come down here to ask a question. So maybe they have a question. Okay, and then they'll go ahead and they'll post their question. Now on the student end, this is the student who posted the question. So this student will see the option to upvote the question. They can also throw away the question or get rid of the question on their end. On my end as the teacher, I have a few other options. I can also upvote the question. I can hide the question. So if this is something that I don't want the rest of the class to see, I can hide the question. I will still see it and the student will still see it. They will get a little note that says that the question has been hidden. I can mark it as answered. So let's say that I saw the question and I explained out loud in our meet the answer. I can go ahead and mark it as answered. And then my last option is to throw it away on my end. So if it's something that maybe is inappropriate, I can quickly come in here and throw it away so that other students aren't necessarily seeing it. So those are some options there. And then again, on my student end, they'll see that the question has been answered because they'll see that little check mark there. Now on both ends, notice that we do have some options for how to sort and filter the Q&A. So the first option here allows them to see all of the questions. They can also switch it on their end to my questions, so they can only see their own. On the teacher end, I can filter it from all questions, and I can look at only the unanswered, only the answered, or only the hidden. And then on both student and teacher end, we can change the way that they're ordered. So the default is oldest first, but we can change it to newest first and most popular. At any point in time, I can turn off the Q&A feature so that students are no longer able to ask their questions in it. And that's just a quick toggle off. So really easy there, and I can toggle it back on when I'm ready. All right, so those are our 3 newest features. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna end our meet because we're gonna look at where that data is stored from your polls and your Q&A sessions. So I am gonna end our meet here. And it does take just a little bit of time to process, but you're gonna find this information by going to your Google Drive. The host of the meet will automatically have files added to their drive with that information. Now, if it's the first time you're using these features, you will notice that you have a new folder that has been created for you called Meeting Reports. You can go ahead and open that folder. And inside, you'll see folders for every Google Meet where you have used either the poll or the Q&A feature. And so right now I have 4 folders. Our most recent session here has not yet loaded. So we're gonna go ahead and look at another session just for time purposes. So here is a recent session that I did where I have a Q&A and I have a poll. So we're gonna go ahead and get started by looking at that Q&A data because that's the first file in here. You'll notice that all of your student questions will be in column A. You'll see the name of the person who submitted the question in B. You'll get a timestamp of when that question was submitted in C. You'll get how many votes that question received in D. And then E through H are really helpful for you to see what happened during the meet with that question. So if it was answered and you checked it off as answered, you'll see that little checkbox there. If you hid the question, you'll see that checkbox here. If you threw the question away on your teacher end, you'll see that this box is checked. And if your student deleted the question, you'll see that this box is checked. So that's a fun little fact. Even if your student asks the question and then quickly deletes it, you still have a record of that. So just important information for you. And this is great because now I know how to follow up as a teacher. So if I know that, student A asked a question and I had to hide it because maybe it was something that I wanted to answer privately, I can now reach out to that student. Or if it's a question that I didn't get a chance to answer, now I can follow up. So some really awesome data in there. Let's go ahead and look at our poll data now. All right. So for our poll data in this particular meet, I asked 2 questions. And so I will see a list of my students who answered at least one of those questions in column A, and then I'll see their answers in columns B and C. So this is great because I can track that data across our meet. So if I asked, for example, a pre-assessment question coming in, and then I asked it the same question as a post-assessment, I can track that progress because that student's answers will be side by side. So that's really helpful to see there. Again, great data. And because it's in a spreadsheet, there's a lot you can do with it, with sorting and filtering and conditional formatting to make it so that you are getting the most out of that data and are able to take that and make decisions about your instruction. All right, so those are our 3 newest Google Meet updates. If you have any questions about these updates or anything else Google Meet related, please reach out to your digital learning specialist.